Welcome, welcome, those who just arrived. I invite you to rename yourself, adding where you are calling from, and type in the chat, how are you arriving today? Waking up. Oops, I just admitted a note taker. Let me remove this note taker. We remove the note takers to make it easier for us when we organize the breakout rooms. And we have the session recorded, so you can always go back to it. Great. You want to share something about the song, Pontus? Your inspiration?
Yeah, this is a song from an Argentina playlist. I'm in Argentina right now, and the song is called Soft Power.
Great. And now we start by reminding us of our agreements. And the first one is confidentiality. So we keep our own experience and our learnings, but we leave who said what in the room. We speak with intention, noting what is relevant to be shared at each moment. And we listen with attention, with presence, with curiosity, with an open heart. As for feedback, we are not here to fix anything or to give advice. So we speak as much as possible from the I perspective, owning our own wisdom of what wants to be said. Try to say, I feel, I see, I sense. And silence is part of the conversation. So if you feel contemplated, we can remain in silence. And also if any of us feel we would benefit from a moment of silence, we can invite a moment to feel more grounded through the silence. Yes. Thank you all and welcome once again. Is Scott already here?
Yeah, yes. Scott is here. You have volunteered to lead a grounding exercise. Thank you for that, Scott.
Thank you.
And there's still 2 more sessions. So if anyone else wants to volunteer, please reach out to me or Rafaela. And also want to remind ourselves that we have somehow also the topics of the dimensions of the guide, and today is the topic of relating. We'll come back to that after the check-in, but maybe you are also somehow relating to that, Scott. So welcome.
Thank you. So this grounding practice is a practice in 3 parts. And we're going to be moving from the earth upwards into the sky above us. So you're welcome to have your eyes open or closed at any point. But really just inviting you to start noticing where your feet are touching the ground. Ideally, if you can have both of your soles on the ground, so feet flat. Arms can be in your lap or by your sides. And first invitation here to maybe close your eyes halfway or all the way. Nice smooth breath in through your nose. And as you exhale, pressing your feet gently into the earth beneath you. Smooth breath in through the nose, and another pressing of your feet down, down. Smooth breath in through the nose, and as you exhale, pressing your feet in here now. seeing if you can imagine gentle roots growing out from where your feet touch the ground. And as you continue to breathe in this way, smoothly in, your roots are reaching down past your floor, wood, concrete, stones, reaching down into the earth itself. Seeing if you can sense this nourishing, heavy, dense energy of the earth reaching back up to you. Smooth breath into the nose, exhale, softening into the earth. And just allowing any of this nourishment that you need in this chapter of your life to flow up like dense minerals, grounded, calming wisdom, ancestors, the earth, our first mother, loving us, holding us, caring for us all throughout our lives. And second invitation to now move your hands, both of them, over your heart. And starting to bring your breath up into your heart space. More of a deep, intentional breath here, really feeling your chest rise and fall underneath your fingers as you breathe. Seeing in these quiet moments with your heart if there's something that needs to be expressed. Continuing this deep breath into your heart. And on your next exhale, maybe saying something back into your body that you feel that you need to hear. Messages of love, of trust, of forgiveness. And maybe nothing comes, and that's okay. And third and final invitation to bring your arms up above you. Maybe noticing if the air has warmth or coolness or texture. Stretching out and moving now. Don't feel like you have to be limited by any sort of stillness. Seeing how your body wants to explore the space above it. And the breath can move high in the body now. Really finding openness, finding space, finding playful ways of moving and being. Seeing what sort of fun wants to sizzle into your existence. An invitation of celebration of this life, this breath, this moment, these people that are here with us, these people who are not here with us. And as you sigh out, dropping your arms to the sides. And that can feel really good, so you can do it a few more times. Up and sighing out as you drop your arms, almost imagining anything that's weighing you down to just fall away, even if it's the grain of sand that you've been holding. And then maybe with an inner smile, blinking your eyes open and coming back and gazing upon the faces of this community. Maybe picking one person on the screen, someone you might not know so well, and just giving them a bit of a spark. They might need it more than you know. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Scott. let's just take one moment and just share a word in the chat for what this grounding gave you. Also as a gratitude to you, Scott. Yeah. Positivity, beautiful, gratitude, softening and joy, peace and freedom, calm. Yeah, thanks a lot. So yes, I am checking in from Argentine. So I'm in the same time zone as Rafaela right now. And 3 days ago, I was in the Aconcagua National Park. I also had a meeting with a hub in Mendoza, a very lively hub with 150 people. Not all were there. I met with their core team of 8. And in a conversation with them, I also realized that the name of this ambassador cohort, Zonda, Zonda is a wind, and the Zonda wind is actually a wind that comes from the Andes, and that is, going down into the plains of Argentine. I shared in the chat here symbolically. It's a force that strips, accelerates, destabilizes, and clarifies. So this is us, I guess. So today we have again 2 full hours. The first hour we will have a deeper check-in connected to relatedness, and we will do an exercise also around that topic. And in the second hour we have Fredrik Lindenkrona, who has been a driving force around the new guide, the IDG guide that was launched during the summit in October. And then we will also talk about what's next for the 4th session. And with that, Rafael, I hand it over to you, and maybe also just saying that, relating is not only relating between people, but it is also relating to the earth, to nature, to all beings, and to our own inner universe. We are not only one, we are many also inside, and relating to all the parts inside of us is also important.
So, thinking about the relating dimension, the purpose of this breakout or the check-in is to foster appreciation and connectedness through deep listening and authentic sharing. So I want you to first take a moment just to think of a person or a situation that you are grateful for. It could be someone from your personal life or professional life, or a situation, someone or a situation. And when you go in breakout rooms, each person will have 4 minutes to share while the partner listens without interrupting. So just share a little bit about this person or situation that you are grateful for. And then you switch. So 4 minutes each. And after both have shared, you have additional 2 minutes, so 10 minutes in total in the breakout, plus 1 to return, to share a sentence of appreciation.
Rafaela, can I interrupt you? I've created rooms of 3, so there's 12 minutes. So there will be
okay.
so there will be 4 minutes each.
Okay. And for the appreciation, maybe 2 additional minutes?
Yeah, the last 60 seconds. Yeah, I can add 14 minutes
then,
plus 1 then.
Yeah. And then after listening to the stories, you just share a sentence of appreciation on what touched you in the story you've heard. Okay, I will also share this prompt here in the chat.
So I have created breakout rooms with 3 people in each room. The timer is set for 14 minutes plus 1 minute. The last 60 seconds, you can also use them. And I suggest that you decide who will hold space for time. So have a timekeeper in the group. We will not remind you when 4 minutes has passed. And,
are you ready?
if you
Any
want,
questions?
you can.
Good to go? What were you adding, Pontus?
No, I just wanted to add, if you need a minute to think before you start, silence is also welcome. Okay.
So maybe you should visit him, Claire.
So welcome back, everyone, from the breakout. Let's harvest a little bit together and get a little bit of sense for what was going on in the breakout rooms. How were you touched by the sharings? Maybe there's other things in your mind or on your heart that feels like you want to share from your experience of this program so far. So the space is open. You can just open your mic. You can raise your hand. You can share in the chat. And silence is welcome. Jaylon.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Let me just lower my hand. It's so interesting how today's session is about relating, and the first skill is appreciation, because unbeknownst to me, what I wanted to do was actually, I was going to put it in the Zonda chat, but then our session was coming up. I just wanted to express appreciation to the entire group because I've been going through the comments that are so insightful, and the tools and tips is a treasure trove of activity and workshops. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so rich. And so I was going to put it in the comments, but then look at the serendipity that Cosmos wants that our session today be on relating and appreciation. So I wanted to share that with the entire group today. First of all, thank you. But also I had the wonderful pleasure of being reconnected with Julia in today's breakout session. And we had been together in a previous session. And it's interesting because she reminded me that the thing that I was grateful for today was just relating to a personal challenge that I'm going through, but that I've actually taken an action. So it's an inner development thing that I'm living right now, inner transformation. And I've actually taken steps to address it and to go from that awareness and being to actually having taken action, but in the time between session 2 and session 3. So it was a lovely gift that Julia gave me today. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jaylon, and thank you for appreciating appreciation. Carry on.
Yeah, good morning. We had a wonderful sharing in our triad, and each very different stories, but there was something that connected the 3 stories, is that each of the relationships that we spoke about was like a surprise. It was an unexpected. It just it came to us, each of the moments that we shared. It wasn't a going out and looking for something. And we agreed that it was just in being, we allowed relating to happen. And it was so wonderful how just in naming it and finding those words, we were like, oh, yes. And it was like a surprise. And it was really wonderful. It gave an incredible sense of sort of hope and possibility to what can you know, what can come from just being and being with others and allowing that sort of what's in between to emerge. So it really was a very uplifting realization for early in the morning where I am. So I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Yes.
What else wants to be shared, or maybe asked, or reflected on?
I think they feel contemplated, Pontus.
I'm curious, Mark, you shared a quote. Maybe you want to say something about it.
Sure. I came across this quote in a certification training I went through many, many years ago, and it just really, really struck with me. I love the terminology of saying that's it's like an epidemic, but a good epidemic. I know every place I've ever worked where I felt really, really deeply appreciated. I felt a huge investment of my time, my energy, and my heart. And I can honestly say that I feel that where I'm working now part time. And I happen to be with my colleague from work in my little group, and also one of my team members from my team from this group. So that was very, very nice.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Let's all become super spreaders of that epidemic.
Claire?
Claire.
Yeah, Mark just reminded me that I've been tiptoeing into speaking about the IDGs at a conference that I MC. And so the last one was actually about appreciation. And so I'm happy to share that deck in the chat, but just it's incredible how much, and I hate to use this word, but nothing else is coming, how much currency is in appreciation and how much people really need it and how we undervalue the impact it has on others. It's really transformative. And I had, since doing that presentation, made it a practice with my partner. And it's just amazing to see him light up for the small things that we just say, you know, that was really meaningful for me, and giving a bit more detail to not just saying, oh, thanks, but really sharing the impact it's had or how it's made part of my day easier.
Mm. Please share it in the chat, but also on Sutra so that it is accessible over time.
I will do that, yeah.
All right. I wonder if there's one more voice. Maybe adds another perspective. Karen, you look like you're grasping for the mic. Yeah.
Well, when you mentioned another perspective, we had a conversation with Peter and Emma, and we all had a grateful moment with direct family members. And what was the basis of all three is that we were very much grateful for the balance it gave and foundations it gave to us as a person, and that together you can grow and feel appreciated by one another. So there was something that's for me was similarity between all the cases we discussed. That feeling grateful for the relationship you have with your husband or with your children gives you also a stronger basis and foundations on feeling appreciated, both for yourself and your family member.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much.
Pia?
Yeah.
We sort of had a very similar situation in our breakout room, but I think what struck me was the ripple effect. And we know, like with positive psychology, that emotions are contagious. And so, as you heard other people express their gratitude, it just I felt like uplifted and really warm, and it just struck me that ripple effect of speaking and expressing your appreciation and just the effect that it has.
Beautiful. Thanks. Yeah, what strikes me also when I kind of read the news is that, you know, the world is suffering a lot from fragmentation, and relatedness, appreciation, connectedness are all kind of possible remedies to that fragmentation. And that the fragmentation is not only in the outside world between us, but it is also within us. We have, you know, parts of ourselves that we're ostracizing or, you know, cutting off. We have voices in ourselves that are arguing with each other. So these skills that are connected to relating are also really important to practice within, not only between us. And maybe that, Rafael, is a good segue over to the next exercise.
Yes.
I have created breakout rooms.
Okay, thank you, Pontus. Yeah, so the next invitation to deepen connectedness, also empathy, humility, and compassion, is to start in the breakout room. This time you'll be in pairs. So when you start, the first suggestion, invite for you, is to spend 1 minute just looking at each other's eyes. Of course, it's ideal when we can do that in real life, because here we have the camera in one place and the eyes is a little bit below the camera. But look in the eyes, even if it's not exactly the camera, just 1 minute in silence, eye gazing. For me, it's one of the most powerful exercises that I do in immersive experiences and so on. And I would love to hear from you what's your experience of doing that as well. So 1 minute eye gazing in silence. And then each pair will have 4 minutes each to share, after the silence, one personal story or experience related to a moment when you felt really connected to someone or to something. So share this story on that moment, on that situation. I felt really connected to this person or to this something else, other living beings, other. And after you both speak and listen, the second person will be able to share a sentence that reflects what they've heard. So share, then listen what the person heard, and then you switch. Is that clear? I'll put this also in the chat.
So how many minutes do you want to have for this, Rafaela?
At total, we need 10 minutes, 4 minutes each, then 2 minutes to be split for the what resonates.
So in total, we have 10 minutes. And a little tip, if you know how to do it, is to turn off self-view. So you don't turn off your camera, but you can turn off self-view, so you only see the other person. That way, it mimics more how it is to meet the person face to face. You can try that if you know how to do it. Okay. Ready to go? Yeah,
Please open
thumbs
your
up.
camera, those who have the cameras closed.
Yeah, so this timer is set for 10 minutes and you have the additional 60 seconds also. Here we go. Of us both learning on how to do this kind of coaching. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome back. We always get curious when you are in breakout rooms. Who would like to share? How was this experience?
And acknowledging the power of just staying in eye contact. Monse.
Monte?
Hello. What I want to share is something that happened that it was really interesting for me. When we spend the 1 minute looking at our eyes, I mean, it's incredible what happened because the person I did it with, I was really relaxed and I was, relaxed. And then she said, "You are really, really tired." And I said, "Wow," because I'm exhausted. Today I'm exhausted. And she saw that in 1 minute, just looking at me. So it's incredible. I mean, I was impressed. So I wanted to share this because this is amazing. And just watching my eyes 1 minute, but she get it. So I'm impressed. I just wanted to share because it's been amazing. Thank you.
Claire.
Thanks. It's funny, I don't usually share online, and today this is now my second time. So thanks for receiving me, everyone, and helping me feel comfortable. Eye contact for me is it's really interesting. I've been talking about it quite often, and we were talking about it in our with Leslie, who was my partner, happens to be my mom's name, which just felt really nice to be in that space. It's almost like the body knows that even though I'm looking at you, like physiologically, it's not eye contact for me. And I don't know how other folks experience that. There's almost like a yearning for a deeper connection because my brain knows that it's a flat plane and I'm neurodivergent and I work remotely. And so this is something I really struggle with because seeing somebody's eyes, it helps me read my level of safety. And on a computer, I just can't seem to get that. Um, and then just an invitation too. I used to be part of the Kundalini yoga community and we did some weird things for better or for worse. And one of them was this practice. It was white tantra yoga. And for 3 days, you would just practice intense meditation. And one of them was eye gazing for an hour with another person. And it was really amazing. And I don't know if you would have the same journey online, but if you do have the space, even if it's for 10 minutes, it's amazing to watch what comes up. Like initially, there's that connection with the other, but then as you really drop into that gaze and holding space for one another, I found it very powerful in terms of um, allowing all that was alive in me to come up. And it was like this journey of like deep love and excitement, and then fear, and then sorrow and tears, and ultimately coming back into a place of peace and real authenticity and just a deeper space of relating.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. I notice myself when I sit in silence with someone just eye gazing that it is easier for me to notice emotions and bodily sensations. Normally, when we are engaging in a conversation, our intellect is very activated, and it can be harder to actually noticing what is going on in the body. So I'm curious if someone wants to share what did you experience emotionally and physically during this exercise?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to say something about it. And it's beautiful because Katarina raised her hand as well, I see, and we were in the same room together. So but for me it was really easy to sink into it. And it's almost like everything falls away and I got tears in my eyes. And it's like I can connect at the level of the soul. And then this beautiful space opens up. So for me, there was no struggle or I having to move away from my rational activity. I was there. It was beautiful. Yeah. And then I think I said to her, like, yeah, we are the same. Those were my words. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Boom, Joe.
Hi. I was speaking with Scott, and for me, when I was looking at his eyes, I was totally engaged. I didn't know at the time. I was really focused on his eyes, even though we're in virtual space, and I wasn't quite sure exactly what I'm supposed to be looking at. But as soon as that stopped, and then we're talking about the connection, I was paying attention to his story, but then when it came to me, I was completely distracted because I was thinking about my own stories and I was thinking about my own schedules and lives, and there was absolutely no connection whatsoever. So I thought that that was an interesting one to bring up.
Yeah, the challenges of multitasking. Huh? Katarina.
Hello. Well, I didn't really have my hand up before, but now I felt like I want to. And what Christoph said, we are the same. Maybe that hints for me at, even though it is no, let's say, real eye gazing because we are the other person's not really there in the room with us. For me, it is more this. It's a way of committing to being there, to listening. And it doesn't really matter if we can really see the other person's eyes. It's that we are there, we are paying attention, we are opening up the room, the possibility for communication. And I even find that in the online setting easier than in live setting because there would be more distractions, for me at least. And I feel it's easier to commit to that space. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I want to share also that I've been using the practice of eye gazing in different contexts. One time when I used it in a business context, just 1 minute of eye gazing in silence, it was experienced so strongly, and there was one person who even felt, a bit intimidated by it. So just want to acknowledge also, this simple little exercise. It is powerful, but it can also be experienced as threatening. this doesn't say we shouldn't do it. And what I sometimes do is I invite people to have the freedom to close their eyes whenever they feel like it's too much. So that's also an opportunity.
Ceylon?
Yeah, Katarina wanted to share again. Oh, sorry.
No, I think Jaylon had her hand up before.
Oh, it's either way. I just wanted to share that. So first of all, Jessica, thank you. We actually, the timer didn't function, so we actually eye gazed for 2 minutes. So for an even longer time. But there's something about eye gazing, which is active, right? An action. But there's also something about being seen. The opposite is being looked at. Right? There's a sense of vulnerability. So not only are you observing and connecting with the other person, but you are sort of, you have nowhere to hide. There's no, it's you're being seen, and there's something intimidating, empowering, all of the above, about that exercise. So just just what I wanted to contribute. But it makes me actually think about, I think it's in Zulu, the greeting is "I see you." Right? There's just something I find very powerful about seeing situations and people for who they are, and then also being accepted and seen for who you are. It's very powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. So an encouragement and an invitation for you to bring it forward to your context. It's a very powerful exercise. I will share in the tools and exercise some additional tips about eye gazing, some additional steps which I feel are very powerful. Pontus, should we take a short break before
I just want to acknowledge that Katarina seemed like she wanted to just say something. Did you? Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I can just quickly add, I wanted to type it in the chat. I wanted to add on what Pontus said. It is a cultural issue as well. And I think, and there are contexts, regions, cultures, situations in which it would be seen as the opposite, as very confrontative, and also people with certain how do you say, neurodiverse backgrounds would, for them it would be would have the opposite effect. So maybe I do like the idea of giving an alternative, like closing your eyes or finding another way of connecting, of opening up the space. Maybe I do work with people from different backgrounds, and I do think I would need that addition to the exercise.
Yeah, that's a great point. So yeah, Rafaela, I think we should move on, but we need to have a short leg stretcher. Should we take 3 minutes?
Yeah, 3 minutes for a quick bio break and leg stretcher, and then we will welcome Frederick Linder-Cornell. So let's say 1/4 past the local hour. I think 4 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
See you soon.
All right, so turn on your cameras if you're back at your computer. We can see each other again, and by that also welcoming Fredrik Lindenkrona. Thank you so much for showing up for us here today, and also for all the work that you have contributed with. You have been kind of part of the journey from the very beginning, but in different roles, but specifically active in these last couple of years around the research, and highlighting also the fact that from a research perspective, I think the IDGs now passed 6,000 mentionings in academic articles. Welcome, Frederick.
Yeah, thank you.
Please
Yeah.
introduce yourself and yeah.
I will. Yeah, I'll share a few slides and so on. It's always a pleasure and it's beautiful. It's just been able to see the different parts of the world represented by where you're from, and being part of the initial founding group. This is, far exceeding what we'd hoped for, being in 5 or 6 years from when we set it out. So I see Canada, I see British Columbia with Claire, and I see parts of Africa, parts of South America. Just amazing. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing, everyone. We are trying to take a particular approach, which I call research co-creation, and we call research co-creation in our work. We are, I do something with my sound. Sometimes I get it too loud. I can boost it up if you want to. Is it better now? So some comments, or is it too loud now? Is that working? Yeah, Pontus, you'll tell me.
It's okay, but there is also some background noise. I don't know if there's someone who has their mic activated, but yeah, we can hear you, Fredrik.
Okay, we'll try. Anyhow, so basically, we are very interested in how we can use different ways of knowing, and where, for sure, the current way that academia works is just a bit of that information. There are so many other ways of knowing. And that's where we try to be in this space. We are very keen on not being portrayed as an ivory tower kind of exclusive part. It's a very different way that we want to do it. So we call the work research co-creation, and we have really tried to be working across the globe, across all disciplines. Those metrics that's used frequently within credibility circles for the academic world, which is citations and publication, production of different things. We're keeping it's quite amazing how much is done, and we have about 100 universities engaged. But I think it's a very interesting one, because almost all who are interested in the IDGs, who are also working or have worked or will work or whatever in anything close to a higher education setting, they want to challenge that setting at the same time. That's the clearest state at the moment, where we want to find ways for people to learn within and outside of universities. And I think I'm actually just now in Denmark, because I'm part of a new initiative, how to learn at a higher education academic level, and the last part of that within the context of society, and not learning in a classroom. So that's engages me a lot, and us, I think, a lot. And I think that's probably the best possible way. So never fear any person who is a researcher if they behave as they should. Very highly listening, co-creating with you, and step into it. They need you, and you need them. So that's my little start rant. Anyhow, so what have we done, and what journey are we on? Bear with me with a few slides, and then we can get into some nitty-gritties. I hope to say a few words about a few different things today, so we'll see what the time allows for. But in essence, I wanted to introduce you to what is our research co-creation infrastructure, and how can you be engaged, and what would be of interest to you. But also, of course, one of the things we have done is that we have jointly, in 20 or so teams across the world, worked with data from you and about 20,000 other people on what they feel are the most appropriate ways to articulate the IDGs from their contexts. And that is
Fredrik,
yeah.
your screen sharing disappeared from
Yeah, I
me,
know, because it was the wrong thing. I'm trying to find the right. I'm trying to find the right one.
Okay.
Speaking, so I'm sorry. I had no, but I thought it was the wrong slide. I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
Bear with me a second, and I'm gonna be.
And there is this noise. I don't know if it's you typing.
Yeah, there's something sometimes with it's very sensitive, so that's why I put it very low, but then people didn't hear, so I don't know. It's a new computer. I haven't trimmed it up yet, obviously, but I can take the sound level down a bit. And
I think it's okay. It's just touch the computer lightly.
I will. I'm soon there. Let's see. I'm just trying to see where I find my. This is also if to everyone. It's in the chat. So if you put it again up there, Pontus, people will see it. I'm just trying to see where I get the slideshow. All right, now probably I can. So anyhow, yeah, we all were aware of this intersection, which I think is also a beautiful representation that now exists in many places, and how these two things are interdependent is a very interesting thing. You can look at that from many lenses, and one of the many lenses we're looking at it from at the moment is actually also on how are IDGs visible in the major policy documents that UN has set up, and how is it related to the biodiversity plan and other things, to see, okay, if you want to achieve these different goals, can you actually identify with the current agreed texts things implicitly or explicitly relating to the IDGs? And that's, you absolutely can. It's more on the achieved change, but there are really clear things on all the 5 dimensions. I'm particularly excited by, I am spending a lot of the energy when I'm speaking to different audiences around the dimensions. And the skills themselves are also important, but I think the bigger challenge with them now, since the first framework to the guide, is that we're centering much more attention on the dimensions of the IDG and how they're described and how they are elaborated and how they are consistently representing phenomena that's relevant across the globe. You can debate any particular kind of skill name when you're looking at it across many different countries, but a very high level of agreement on those, but it's also a very high level of agreement on the dimensions. So I'll say for a few more things about that, but I think it's important. What we don't think similarly around in the world is that we don't necessarily see how being, thinking, relating, collaborating, and acting are intersecting. We have put it very much in a linear way in some of our representations here, but I would rather have it represented in this way, or as some have been doing, to put the whole 5 dimensions into a perpetual loop, like the Möbius 8, right, with relating as the connector. And then you go intra-psychological to being and thinking, and you go interpersonal to collaborating and acting. Yeah, many ways, and it's all connected by relating. So that's the same in our thinking in the research co-creation. We want to find connection between people across the globe, across roles and responsibilities that may have in terms of being academics or practitioners or policymakers and so on. Both because different ones have participated and are participating in our work, and they have to, because we wouldn't understand anything if we didn't. But also reversely, people change their lives, right? People change jobs. People have for a while you're very practice oriented, then you want to start studying, and maybe you're doing some work in the academic space. And reversely, and many academics who are really bored by only confined to work in those places who want to get out, and many are. So I'm honoring what we call the pracademic side, so the practicing academics. It's for me a very important word that we, as so often when people are boundary spanners, you're not belonging to anything. So we try to have them belong and feel connected to our work in the research co-creation world, at least. This is the new slide that is trying to, from a learning journey we were doing with all our academic partner institutions and individuals, and how we can be most helpful, shifting from maybe a sort of a thematic interest focus to more and more, how can we facilitate people taking initiatives to long or short time exploration of development. And also that comes with the tough part of these projects also then usually have to find their funding, research-wise or innovation-wise or whatever. But it's a way we just basically are on our path of setting up. We are very much about 1,600 people in our LinkedIn group, and then we're trying to build the other ways for people to interact and find their peers, usually peers from different parts of the world, usually peers from different sectors, because the best we can possibly do when we want to understand something is to combine knowledge sets. That's for me the crucial piece. I love to see, you know, architect together with a philosopher, together with a school teacher, design a project together and test stuff, experiment stuff, but also research what they're doing when they're doing it. So that's sort of my ideal. So one of those projects that now we could, in this vocabulary, would call an initiative or something similar, was the ask from the board of the IDGs to develop the new inner development guide. And this is available in several languages. More translations are on the way. And there also is almost fully done, I think, on the web page now to use them. But of course, we have to ask ourselves, me being part of the journey from the whole part, why, because people relevantly ask ourselves this question, why do we need to do something new when we already had an established framework? You know, isn't that, you know, overthinking, overdoing? Shouldn't we focus on other things? Well, I think it's absolutely vital for a global movement to have a shared process, not to define practice, but to share what is going on and find each other. We would not have found a lot of the 60,000 people, I guess, in the wider IDG ecosystem, or the hubs, or the partner companies, or the universities, if we hadn't had one way or so say how we spoke about this. It doesn't mean that it's the only way. It doesn't mean it's the, like, even the best. We probably, hopefully, we're going to be improving this and you know, over learning and time. But we do have to find something we can unite around, and we also do have to find places where people's voice is heard around these issues. And that's been my absolute core experience, is that the first framework did not include, well, it tried, but we didn't have the network. So we had most of the responses by far from the global north. Now we actually got answers all around the world, 20,000 of those. We were able to work with teams of volunteering researchers and experts to process the data in their own cultural context and then share from that. And one design thing we did, what was, you know, in research, you can also always criticize what you're doing, and you should, because it's never perfect. We made a solid decision and say, okay, over a certain number of responses from a place, it doesn't matter if there's 12,000 responses or if there are 250 responses. And that's totally aligned with how you do qualitative data analysis, which this was, meaning that the value of the responses from parts of Africa that was slightly less in numbers was equaling what was coming from North America with much more responses, or Europe. So we actually leveled the playing field in the analysis we did, in order to make sure that the voices and lessons learned from across the world was front and center. So that's been some of the work, and we have really iterated this many, many times with our friends around the world. So this is going on, and it's still going on. This is just Elif, the fantastic colleague I've had, who's been the methods lead for this work, who has been able to work with the best possible qualitative data processes to analyze about 1 million words was the input from those 20,000 people, down to a guide which has and holds about 400 words, 405 to be honest. And this is the whole set of people, and even more. This is just the co-leads, and that had all different colleagues around the world. So a big up for these people who've been volunteering, iterating, having to listen to me, having to be, but they also done it with a smile of joy and happiness to be able to express this and contribute jointly to this. So that's our beautiful bumblebees and beautiful people who's been very much. I think I saw Allegra online. Are you there, Allegra? So a big up for you, and maybe others who are in the group.
Ciao, Fredrik.
Hey, ciao, Allegra. Anyhow, so that's beautiful also, because, you know, this was something we we took a bet. We took a bet that we could find a way where we decently could agree on some of these things. And we also took a bet that by centering focus on how we learned and listened to each other, we could also find an acceptance of maybe not agreeing on everything, right? This is so I found that most of these things, and everyone has rated this who have been in it, as it is all right in representing what was in their data from different parts of the world. It's never perfect, but it's really there. So what did we do? Well, 4 changes, I think, for you who know the previous framework that's worth to be knowing and noticing. One is a very important stance, if you want, or perspective, is that we went from what we call the inner development goals framework. And framework, in many culture contexts, probably more than in the Nordic countries actually, is a very top-down, authoritative way of understanding things. And yes, there are these are people with credible input from around the world who wants to be clear on what they've seen, and we have done whatever we can in terms of processing this massive. So it's not that we don't have loads of good, expertise embedded, but the stance doesn't have to have that authoritative edge. It can, and I really like this idea. It came from our board and also from the group. Let's call it the inner development guide instead. To try to say, okay, this is always going to be a need. The thing cannot do the job. It's the people who can do the job with the thing. So if the thing is the framework or the guide, it's the people who have relationships, have an approach, understands the context where they are going to use and be guided by this. That's the core. So you are the core. It's not the object. It's the core. But it's important to be guided, and you can, have that humility to think about what of this is helpful for what I need and we need to achieve in the work we're doing. So that's the name change. The dimensions change was needed, as I saw it. I have always been very interested in. I really, really appreciated the being thinking, but I have had some issues on how we describe the dimensions and how we do the short tagline, if you say. So this one here, cultivating our inner life, understanding our, this is much more aligned across, and they describe what's in them a whole lot better, in my view, than was previously the case. And it's also important because with that enormous amount of input and data, we had to be thinking a bit, because first of all, we decided that it would be completely impossible to have so many more than sort of 23. We said 25 is probably some kind of a logical number of skills. But what do we then do with the data? Well, actually, we did look at many of the wider kind of concepts. We put them in the descriptors of the dimensions instead. And when there were very specific things spoken about, detailed part of a particular concept, we put that information down in the skill descriptor. So that was our time to have a sort of similar level of specificity and width for the different skill names. So really encourage all of you to understand and look at this as an aligned thing between the different levels. It's not only the skill name. So always look at the skill descriptors, but also look at how does these things, the 5 of them for each, come together to express a detailed version of what's in the dimension. And the good thing with 5 is that usually it's an easy thing to have. You have 5 fingers and you have 5, so you can go with that and have your 5 dimensions. And then if you're even more elaborate, you can have your 5 skills per dimension as well. And we did really work with the expertise of the people who have been part of the first framework. I was more at the periphery then. in that process, and then also the design and the graphical and copyright skill sets of our friends from the new division with Jacob and Christina. So yeah, that's the result. You've seen it, and you've seen it here. Yeah, and it's there's a couple of tweaks in some wording, because sometimes okay, but if we add this thing from the international study with what is there, we just rename it to a new skill, but it's actually in its content similar. One of those examples is hope and optimism. Interesting conversation we had in many different parts of the world, because both of these are seen as very important, but different cultural backgrounds, different religions have different approaches to hope and optimism. So we fuse them, so these are considered as part of a systematic learning journey, where I think at least the effort and our approach to do it was the best we could mobilize over the last 2 years. And I think the voice and the input from across the world, it can always be even more, but it was significant from all parts of the different corners or it's not corners on the globe, but anyhow. And we're working now on writing up the report, which is a big task in itself, because the many people want a lot to be in it. I mean, we are doing something that people have asked us for a long time, is there a way for you to substantiate what these inputs have in relation to available research? And that's what we've done. We also looked at a connection to which different research fields have said similar things. We're reviewing existing competency frameworks. That's the biggest ones that Johan had looked at for sustainability, and see where are we in relation to the others. And a lot of alignment. We have a stronger, we're part of the trend, I think, where we have more focused on the inner and the deeper interpersonal relationships than most of the other competency frameworks that tend to be a lot of thinking related things. So we're adding in that repertoire, which is probably why it's a lot of tests going on in many higher education institutions, schools, and so on. And and then we also have this process of reviewing its relationship to policy documents to see, okay, if it's really so important, we should make the case that you cannot achieve any of the outcomes clearly from what's even said word by word in the policy documents without addressing these issues. So over and out from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fredrik. Thank you for sharing this, and thank you for all the work that you and thousands of people have been doing. I have been sharing in the chat the link to the LinkedIn group for higher education and research co-creation, and it's an open group. So if you are interested, you can join. So inviting now for reflections, for questions, for feedback. And I see that Claire, you have raised your hand. So let's start with you.
Fredrik, thanks for sharing. One thing that comes up for me, I helped co-lead an RCT, so I know, and sorry, randomized control trials, so I know the power of speaking to both the head and the heart when it comes to audience and inspiring people forward. And for me, while I know intuitively the impact of these skills, is there I'm going to call it an evidence pack that also shows the data, both qualitative and quantitative, for each of the different domains? When I'm speaking to, let's say, a more business-oriented audience that would like to see some of the science-backed data points behind these skills?
Well, not fully structured in that way yet. I mean, you have and will have, we're reviewing each month what the publications exists and are published on, and they're structured by some of these things. there is a really, I mean, this is worth a separate conversation and in depth, because when we say we want to use evidence behind the different things, it's partly a deep challenge to how we currently understand science and research, because this is a complex system where those immediate cause and effect things doesn't really work that way. And it's very hard even to grasp how could you design a study taking everything which an experimental design would have to do, take all other things as control, and then erase. So it has to be, the argument has to be, in my view, done in a slightly different way. That's why we're doing the connection. If you're looking at the competency frameworks that's been used for the UN and for the most cited international ones, none of them had done anything else basically than a consensus process with people sending their input on what they as experts think. What we have done is that taking a much wider experiential base and then done that, then we can make the case for sure, and we're doing it in the report, that these things are highly aligned with what other kind of science would say, and then we have to define, how do we believe that increased something of this particular thing, what is the way it can translate into some other kind of action, and what do we even mean by sustainable development per se, right? So it's probably not going to be related to, I don't think we can in any, it will never be, and I'm not sure that's the way to go. It's not connecting to the separate indicators in outcomes for the Sustainable Development Goals or the 17 SDGs. Because the whole point to the SDGs is that it's integrated and not separable. So it's the capacity to work well under conditions of severe complexity and making the right conditions in the organization to make that work. So yes, it is a trickier one to argue for, but that's probably more aligned with what we would know and more honest, because it's not going to be that immediate. So it is tricky. There is many interesting research projects on the way, and many people that everyday people are coming in and say, "Oh, we'll try this right now." I have one. I've seen some Welsh people here. I'm working a lot with a project in Wales right now, looking at the transformation of a biophilic building, where IDGs is both used for the work between all the disciplines and the different both researchers and societal partners, and it's also used as a framework to define and identify what is the processes going on in that living community. So you absolutely, you can use it, right? But it's also important to say that the taxonomy, if you want to, the way we describe this, it's not tested out, and I don't think it's really doable, to be honest, fully on, because of the width. Because of course you could think, can you develop individual metric with 25 skills? And I would argue maybe, but the better thing is to know, for these particular things we want to work with, what's the best available measure, and not developing a new, because then we know, but this is not. So it's all sort of intricacies in that. Sorry for being long, but it is, and it's a great question, Claire, but and many asked it. It's very frequently asked. But I think we have to be cleverer in our articulation to a business community and say, what is it really you want to be improving? How would success look like? What is the reasonable argument logically that this could help you? And how do you understand the pathway? Then you can start doing it, right? And I think that clarity is important in any kind of business development or other context anyhow, right? So I think I would go, that's why I'm trying with businesses when I work with them a lot, instead of, let's look at these things. Yes, we can track some stuff, but we have to see it as a learning process, and you will have more scientific backing on top of what people have also valid. People's experience of what works for changing stuff is also science. It's not only the metrics. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. And I can understand the complexity of maybe undertaking new studies to test the IDGs as a guide, an ecosystem. And for me, I found it helpful. I was talking earlier about I presented on the IDGs and just the skill of appreciation. And again, knowing who was in the audience, there's like the feel good side of appreciation, but then I brought in some of the science about the impact of appreciation on productivity, on people's sense of well-being, etc. So for me, I feel like when I bundle it, I tend to have more engagement from my audience.
I think that's the way to go. I think that's why we're speaking about this as a guide, and then the guiding process is what you're sharing, right? So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the space is open for a little while longer for feedback or questions. I have one question, Fredrik, and that is, when is the report ready?
When is that something? Yeah, but it's a bit of a daunting exercise because we want people who are part of the team to have a say. So give us 2 months. It's really a capacity issue as well. So we will.
So what did you say? Give us 2 months? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So by the end of March. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
great.
Hopefully. It's really important. If you have done this work for 2 years and you have had so much people's engagement, it is important that they get the chance to get their feedback first, and then we will release it. So I take that before speed. So yeah, it's a bit frustrating, but what would be there much earlier is, and that's really sitting just with the last, I think, work from the comm side in our team, is getting the guide part of the page fully ready. It's still a bit waiting for some last things there. We have yeah, and I mean we struggle, as many of you know, we struggle a bit about the capacity at the moment generally. So it means that everything gets drawn out because of that. But it should be done. I would have hoped it to be much earlier done with the page generally, but yeah, that's how it is.
Rafaela shared in the chat here a link to Google Scholar and IDG citations. I looked at it, I think, like 2 weeks ago, and it was just about 2,000, and now it's like, or 6,000, and now it's like 6,217. Can you say something about this search engine and how it can be used?
Yeah, I mean, credits, people who are even more, so I don't necessarily see myself as widely embedded in universities in that particular way. I often worked on the intersection of academia and others. But we have other colleagues. So this particular case is our dear friend, Professor Yulia Sheltovna, who has been just setting up a sort of a, there's this, you can just ask basically on what comes in under that search frame and gets published, and then it's through Google Scholar, is that sort of search. So it's set on when this is mentioned in title abstract of the paper. So it's not that it's just one of 1,000 citations. It's a bit more actively on it, and you'll see it when you look at it. And you can see also what is the most frequent people who publish on these topics, etc. I mean, one of the things I find particularly relevant here is actually it's published around IDGs in a whole suite of different disciplines. That's probably the most exciting. You could think that, we should be seen as having a background, many of us, in sort of management studies or organizational development and so on. Yes, that's there, but you have a lot in architecture, the arts-based education, it's in education, it's in all kinds of different, which is really what I would want to see. And totally being able to use this as a shared way of speaking, not sector specific, but really generic across people's lifetime, people's different ways of being. I find that quite extraordinary, and there's so few things that is designed to work that way now. And that's even for you who have not been in it. I mean, that's the whole reason in the beginning, was that we had this split between so many different research disciplines of some of the senior ones we've been working with. And actually that isn't help. It's, you almost become, either you follow this one or this one. Either you're very excited and just look at what Amy Edmondson is doing, or Peter Senge, or Otto Scharmer, or René Hertzman, or Rebecca Henderson, or whatever, because they're designed in the academic setting to sort of have their own framework. What we did was that we tried to find a way to get something that could be joined up, and they agreed on it. And the only way to join up was to ask people doing the work what they experienced, because no one could agree on the theoretical side. They had to be coming from the practitioners. Otherwise, it's impossible to get researchers to, because there's nothing to put it on, right? Why is my framework better than yours? There's no, like, but if you ask people what is the most helpful way to communicate, and then say, we also want to point to, so for some parts of this work, the depth and the theoretical basis would be found in this person's research work or this sector. So it's both, it's a combination. I think our particular contribution is overview and systems overview, and then if you want to go details, you do like Claire was mentioning, or you get guided by a particular kind of expertise for this particular area. So that would be my advice.
Thank you so much, Fredrik. This has been incredibly insightful. Thank you so much. Maybe just share a word in the chat of appreciation for Fredrik while we transition into the last 5 minutes of today's session. And I don't know, Fredrik, if you stay for the afterglow. We always have an afterglow for those who want to stay a little bit.
Yeah, for a few minutes.
Yeah. And Rafaela, do you want to help us close here by also talk about next session?
Yes. So I shared here in the chat that you already have access to the slides as well as these links we posted in the chat. So they are under session 3 on Sutra. And you also have access now on Sutra to the pre-work of session 4, which is to continue to work on your prototype of your IDG presentation, to share other exercises and practices that you use to demonstrate the dimensions and skills. Watch a video from Christine Wansler, which is our guest speaker for the next session, the next gathering. She's one of the scientific advisors for the IDGs. And meet in your learning group. The invitation is for you to share a little bit about what you are preparing for your presentation, which you have to post by the end of the ambassador program on Sutra as well. So it's available there. We also would like to share some announcements of upcoming events. We organized some deep dives in the IDGs for those who want to learn about different skills. Yesterday we had one with Peter and Nadia about money and our limiting assumptions, and about money and how it affects our relationship with money. And they will do an additional session about source, which I'm posting here in the chat on February 5th. And this year, we are not going to have the IDG Summit. If you are connected with the IDG ecosystem, you know we've had summits in Stockholm. This year, it won't happen. The idea is to decentralize and have local summits, which time in different continents and regions. But we do have the co-IDG forum from the 13th to 17th of July in Switzerland. It's the 3rd edition. And the theme is the alchemy of forgiveness, which is one of the skills of the relating dimension that we were working today. So I shared the links there in the chat in case you feel the call to dive deeper. Yes. And shall we do a Shatterfall as a checkout, Pontus, before we go on our afterglow?
I want to announce one more thing, and that is a brand new page. I don't know if you've had time to look at it, Frederick. We can talk about it in the afterglow. But it's a resource page created by Thomas Jordan, who has been active in actually all research phases around the IDG. And from the first look at it, I find it very interesting and exciting. So I think it would be great to have your feedback on it when we meet again. Maybe it can be an extra homework for those who have the energy for that. But yeah, looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. And exciting to read the conversations and comments going on. Good luck in also your learning groups. And let's do a Chatterfall, Rafaela. So take it through us.
So I guess you've learned by now the Chatterfall. The invitation is for you to post in the chat, what are you taking away from this session? And then don't press enter until I count to 3. So just take a moment. What are you taking out of this session today? And when I count, you post it. Okay? Just a little bit more. And then, ready? 3, 2, 1. Let's see, collaboration, connection, gratitude, a lot of connection. And as usual, also, I invite you to open your mics and say goodbye in your own language.
Fijne dag allemaal.
Ciao, ciao.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
And welcome to stay afterglow if you want.